Hello, my name is Francis Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer, skilled in all psychic abilities, which everybody has. Um, they're denied them by society, by school, by their lack of belief in themselves, by a sheer determination to have people of authority tell you what to do rather than listening to yourself, listening to your heart chakra. The heart chakra intelligence, by the way, was called intelligence of the heart by Plato and Aristotle, all the Greek philosophers, and they considered it the most important intelligence, much more important than the intelligence of the head. Excuse me while I try to get out of this. So today, the what we are going to be discussing um, is the violence in this country, which I've talked about for several years, and not a lot of attention has been paid. Obviously, the people that take care of our mental health are totally inadequate. This is a behavioral issue which may have been weaponized by certain people and groups, but it definitely has to do with behavior and psychology. Um, Let me tell these people that I resolved the issue. So, what are we going to discuss today? How can I help? What can I say that might be able to contribute to what it is that's going on? Let's start with the fact that I'm a problem solver. I'm very male that way. Rather than saying, oh, darn, I'm so sorry that happened to you, immediately because of my training, I go into how do we take care of this? And maybe at the same time or before, why did this happen? So, in my field, in my world, um, you always, when you have a problem, you have to ask yourself, why do I need this problem? So, why would the United States, and the whole world is dealing with violence, but I'm going to limit myself to the United States because it's where I keep up with the news on X, etc. Um, I'm not going to try to figure out other countries at this point, though I suspect it probably will be the same issue. Why would the United States need the problem of all of the violence? It's because we haven't learned basic laws of the planet, which are the same laws that apply to our home, which are the same laws that apply to our marriages, our children, our body, our physical health, and to our companies, the businesses that we set up or the businesses that we do business with. There are basic laws that we simply have not incorporated. And when I look back in history, most other societies have also not incorporated these laws because they have run into issues of this same type of issues at different times. So, why would the United States need this issue or this issue of violence? And then you could say, well, be the Republicans and the Democrats, da 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 da. No, 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 no. That is not. Those are symptoms. The violence is a symptom. So I'm feeling very interesting and unusual right now. Last night I had major magic attack. Major. We did not have fun when we were fighting it off, and we won, but we did not have fun. I don't know if something is not going on now because I was very solid until 5 minutes ago. And I'm not so solid now. But as you know, I'm really not allowed to speak even though I'm doing it, which is a lot of the reason why I go out of my comfort zone and talk when I know that this is totally prohibited, is because Trump is coming into office. So the people that owned me, handled me, own me, handle me, um, they are not quite as in control of the world, this country, or of me, or people like me. But let's get off of that. What is violence? I don't know what the definition of violence is in the dictionary, but I can tell you at causal level that violence is an excess of the fire element. There's 5 elements. The one that I don't know about is the fifth one, which is, they call it ether, and they have it in Chinese medicine. The 4 that I am familiar with and can teach you something about is the water, air, fire, and earth. When there is violence, there is an excess of the fire element. The excess of the fire element, the symptoms start with anxiety, nervousness. Now, fire is an element that is there to give movement and vitality to animals, to the planet, to your company, to your physical body, to your mind. Movement, vitality, to be able to do things, to have the energy to do things. When there is too much, the first symptom is anxiety. Okay, frustration, insomnia. If you can't sleep, you have an excess of fire. There are no exceptions. If you can't sleep, you have an excess of fire. So then we should start to revise medications, which I don't believe in anyway, or how we address the insomnia. But that's not where I'm at right now. Frustration, anxiety, insomnia, anger, irritability. Going back to frustration, everybody's frustrated. Hatred, emotional violence, physical violence, murder, and suicide. It has only been the last several months where I have accepted what I have been told and understood is accurate for years, which is that suicide is an excess of the fire element. It is too much fire, but rather than going against somebody, using that vitality to go against somebody, you use that vitality against yourself and you kill yourself. So I think it's pretty important to take care of the excess fire because it's not just the violence that we're seeing today. So we have, it would appear, people that are weaponizing this imbalance of the elements in the planet, in all of the planet. But we're going to limit ourselves to the United States. And we have to remember also that we are taught that the food of the devil is the fire element. So we have too much fire and we have too much devilish behavior. The oldest medicine on the planet is shamanism. And after that, we get Ayurvedic medicine, which is 5,000 years old, even has their own sacred text. And if you are going to make a new formula in India having to do with medications, that formula is approved by the government, but your references are from the sacred books, the sacred texts, the Vedas in India. Very neat, very nice. Chinese medicine comes next. Also, Ayurveda is based on the balance of the 4 elements. Shamanism is based on the balance of the 4 elements. Chinese medicine is based on the balance of the 4 elements. American modern medicine, they may not even know what the 4 elements are. And yet, since the beginning of time, it is known that health is balanced elements. So we're already in deep trouble having to do with that. Okay. So in the United States, we have too much fire and we have too much violence. Everybody's frustrated. Everybody's ready to cut everybody's head off. Very little is said gently with affection and emotions. Even the positive things we say are said with some sarcasm, and it's become acceptable because people just have to process this fire. You can't get around it. So, how do you put out fire? You put out fire with water and with earth. Same as when you go camping. There's a fire, you throw water on it, you put it out. Earth, you dump some earth on the fire and it puts it out. It's the same thing in the other dimensions. The neat thing, and what I wish that I could get people to listen to and then they could just apply it in their homes tonight, is that you do not have to work with the elements on the physical dimension in order to get them to work, to get into balance. You can have a situation where there's too much fire, such as a person, and I'll say the story because I've said it before and it's so simple. Some of my followers were on vacation in Europe and they were in a restaurant and there were two guys that were getting ready to literally have a fist fight inside the restaurant. And the woman said to the person she was with, "Ugh, I don't want our vacation or this meal destroyed. Just visualize these two men underneath a cascade of cold water and do this mantra. Even though I love and accept myself, and tell God that the mantra's for these two men." And they did it. And within a couple of minutes, it was over. They did a mantra asking to reduce fire, but even more effective than that, they visualized the two people with cascading cold water over them. They adjusted the elements. They took care of the excess of the fire element with their instrument of creation, which is their mind and their ability to visualize something. Yes, I know a lot of people have hard time visualizing. You know what? Start practicing up because you're going to be very happy with the results. So we can take care of this and we can take care of it really quickly because do you know how long it takes to visualize somebody inside an igloo or inside cascading cold water or with a piece of ice, a big ice cube inside their head? Do you know how long it takes? Seconds. Now, what is stopping us? Our belief system. It doesn't help that Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine has never explained this to us in the way that I'm explaining it. But maybe that is the reason why, before I was born, I determined to be born into a military situation, a mind control program. Because they don't run around saying, oh, yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be. No, 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 no. Tell us how it really works. And because I was a kid when I started working with them, I would sketch stuff. But they do know this. I know in Ayurveda because I have a very good friend whose name is Dr. Akhilesh Sharma. And I've said this story before. When he lived with me for 6 months, he was getting a certificate so that he would be able to work with some clients in the United States. He's from the priestly class in India, and he's an Ayurvedic physician, and he lives in India. At one point, he was the president of International Yoga Day for the UN. So he's a knowledgeable person with a lot of connections. So anyway, he gave me a reading, not a reading, you don't call it a reading. I made an appointment with him in my own home for my health. This was 30 years ago. And one of the things he said to me was I should get a picture of a scene of a beach and put it in my home. And then he recommended other things. And I assumed, because at that point he was living with me, just a friend, but he was living with me. I assumed that he was trying to correct my decor because he didn't explain. It was one of the things he recommended. So I went ahead and I wrote it down, picture of beach scene in my home. And I was irritated that he would have the nerve to make an assessment of my decor, being that if I knew what his bedroom looked like because we used to have to pick up after him, that he would do this. It was a little bit of an insult. I let it go. Took me 3 decades to realize he was telling me I needed more water in my life. Beach, water. I did not know, and he didn't know enough to explain it in a way that I could have understood. I wouldn't have done it anyway. No, you need more. The element of water would come in one ear and out the other. Thank God he told me. So I am telling you now that you can do that. It's super cheap. Or you can use the mantra music that we always use here with the mantras that's on our YouTube channel. And you can have videos going on large screens. We all have large screens TV anyway. With these videos of lots of water. And the main one we have that's called Agni, which means fire in Hinduism, is cascading water from glaciers. So you can have this in public places 24/7 because the fire is coming from, it's not coming from sick people or people that are angry. They're angry, excuse me, and sick because they have too much fire. If you have somebody in front of you in a rage and you throw a bucket of cold water on them, they can't continue with the rage. If you take a little kid who's having a temper tantrum and put him in a tub of water and pour water over his head, the temper tantrum will end. And you think it's because you shock them. There's a shock of, in terms of a contrast, um, of going from too much fire to being cold, but you took care of it very easily. So where is all this fire coming from if the symptom of the frustration and anger and temper is a symptom? It's coming from radiation from all of our wireless devices. It also comes from like our electricity, but electricity radiates very, very. I wish I could get this to stop. They keep wanting me to respond to how and assess how well they took care of me right in the middle of the chat. So see if that ends it. So the first thing that comes is the elements in terms of the construction of reality. And the first thing that you should work on when you have a really big problem, whether it's in politics, in the country, in your house, in your physical body, is to balance out the elements. Now, all foods have elements. I'm not sure if everything has elements because I have learned as much as I possibly can, and I will continue to learn as much as I can about the elements, but it's not a natural thing for me. So I don't have all the information. And again, this Ayurvedic physician was helping me to balance my elements, but he didn't know enough to tell me that water in that beach scene is going to transfer to your home and to you, and you need more water. Now, water is emotions. I'm a Cancer. When I met him, I was going to three different psychologists trying to deal with the trauma of being a mind control victim. Water is emotions. I needed to put out a lot of my rage, but he did not explain that. So I never did anything. So I'm telling you now. You go to our YouTube channel and you look up Mantrista Music, and there's a playlist. And we have actually done one particular Mantrista uh, music for all the Latin American countries and the United States and Spain, which is water with medusas, which are, what do you call them? Stingray, not stingrays. And we have a map of the country. We have one for the United States. There's a map of the United States, and then you have these medusas, pink ones, swimming in the water. So when you put it on all day long, it is basically changing the balance of the elements in the environment where it is. Now, it is not just the images that are putting out or redoing the balance of the elements, which in this case, all of them are to reduce fire because that's the issue on the planet today. It also has musical notes that put out fire. So you might want to look it up, and I'll put one on in a second. I'll actually put on the Medusas one right now. So what's with all this hate? What's with all the violence? It's an excess of the fire element. And a lot of people have said, I believe through history, that this time when the planet has its catastrophe, it's going to be with an excess of fire. And that's exactly where we are right now. So what we're talking about is a paradigm shift. What we're talking about is an updating of information that has been valid for the planet since the beginning of time. Updating it, modernizing it, making it even easier. But somebody's got to get the information out there. Now, I am so hogtied having to with reach in my social media right now. TikTok is not going to let me stream anything. They didn't ban me. They declined or they changed because I was streaming there. And all the social media It is anybody that knows anything about social media and looks at my social media and looks at what it is that I put out, they always come back and say, we don't understand your numbers. Your the intensity of your followers is really incredible, but your numbers are so low. Doesn't make any sense. It makes a lot of sense because they're managed, they're controlled. So I can't get out there. So you can get this information out yourself, or you can help me to get this information out there. And we need to do it very quickly because we're burning ourselves up. Also, we're now not happy with these violent episodes 4 in 3 days or 2 days in the United States. But we're having that in our homes with our children. Our children sleep with their cell phones, radiating microwave, which radiates fire. Microwave cooks meat. I'm so tired of saying this. I've said this so many times. This doesn't make me everybody or anybody's favorite person, but I have to say it because we have a big problem. We're going to end up with the planet going up in flames because the information didn't get out there. We passed the age of information. We're into the age of transformation, but we're going in without baseline information about the laws of the planet from the beginning of time. And that needs to change. There is one incredibly sad issue having to do with excess fire element, which is that in Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, it is known that mental illness is due to a hot head, excess fire in the head. And what is going on with all of our children and my grandchildren, children, grandchildren, couple of generations? They've had too much fire from all the super neat devices that we have that are wireless that allow us to do so many things. And for years, I was like, this is never going to happen. This is not going to get taken care of because people refuse to give up their addiction to these conveniences. But it's lately that I realized they don't have to give it up because of that beach scene that I finally understood. You don't have to give up your devices. You really shouldn't be sleeping with them, but you don't have to give them up. You can have your electric car. You can have everything that you want with the radiation, with the fire that they're radiating. But you got to bring in the element of water and you have to bring in the element of earth. Now, nobody goes outside anymore. People in jails have to, by law, be outdoors 2 hours a day. Kids don't go out 2 hours a day. Adults don't go out 2 hours a day. People start to work out and build up their bodies. They do it inside gyms where the windows are never open and they're not intending on being opened. Now, I'm going to repeat again, excess fire is the food of the devil. And if you think that the devil is not involved in all of this stuff, okay. So then I guess you're not Christian or Catholic and you don't believe in Christ. You can't pick and choose stuff. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a mantra. Please, God, help us with our intention. It's ancient knowledge. And it's also baseline. There's fire. Obviously, when somebody is angry and running and they're on fire, it's obvious that it's fire. I think practically nobody will say they can go, oh, they're mentally ill. Yes, but that's another aspect of it. And again, mental illness is always a hot head. If you can reduce the fire in the head, you reduce or eliminate the mental illness. So we need to introduce frequencies, musical notes, and images that offset the excess element of fire that is killing our society. One of the thousand things that I like about Trump is I've never seen him with a cell phone. He's not microwaving his brain. Now, he's not microwaving it with a cell phone. I have to assume that every property owns is really wired up, that the Wi-Fi must be excellent in all of his hotels and his home and all the rest of that. but he doesn't have it close to his body, which is really very, very neat. But unfortunately, all of the rest of us always have it, which means we have to spend more time at the beach, or we have to have that beach scene, or we have to have the mantra music. Now, in terms of the music, it's incredible. It's frequencies. Microwave is a frequency. Radiation, electricity has frequencies. They have frequencies that will repair teeth. I didn't say this. I would never dare say that. Science has been saying it, and people are posting it up on X all the time. These frequencies repair teeth. These frequencies do this. These frequencies put out fire. So we have to understand more about frequencies. I know nothing. I have somebody who's excellent who does, I commission the music. I tell him what I'm looking for, Mateo Cuaron. He does it and it works. In our movement, the Manchusta movement, which basically is a group of people that are following the things that I'm learning and teaching, when we started, it was mainly mothers and they were mainly hysterical. My kid, he's changed. He's not the same person anymore. And they call me from school and he doesn't want to go to school and he's depressed and my daughter wants to kill herself. We don't get much of that anymore. But almost all of them have the mantra music on or all night or 24 hours a day in their homes. And if they cannot get that into their kid's room, they put it on a TV monitor or their computer and they get a photograph of their kid and they put it on the monitor as the video is going on and the person is getting bathed in the cold water. So this is what we have created. And there's a lot of people out there that are more creative than we are. So we need to look out. We cannot look to our medical profession for this. It makes me angry. We cannot go to our medical profession to look for why people are so intent on killing each other, why there's so much violence, why there's so much perversion, in particular, like this, talking about all these gang rapes in Europe. Well, those are driven by particular spirits that come in via the left ear that are part of the listing by the Catholic Church, and people are not putting, okay, so the people that are raping have these spirits. Yeah. And guess where those particular spirits come from? They're part of the assemblage of the devil. What's the fruit of the devil? It is, as far as we've been told, and I believe that's accurate, the fire. So from every different angle, we need to get this taken care of. I don't feel I've been very good in this particular chat, which now gets converted into a podcast tonight. And again, I have enemies working on heavily in the other dimensions to take me down and to have you not listen to me. That's another thing we've got to look at. We don't just have to look at my handler who's still trying to get me under control, who I saw yesterday morning. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. He's still running around. We have all these bad stuff going on that has been kind of identified. It's still not getting taken care of. I don't get that either. But I do believe that this is going to be a year where the violence is going to multiply. You think we've seen a lot now? Nothing compared to what is the potential of what they call the apocalypse. And what does the apocalypse have? In the images, those paintings from the Middle Ages, and when they talk about the apocalypse, it's all red. And people dying, horrible deaths, being killed by other people, body parts. That's exactly where we're at. So it's the fire that we have to pay attention to. Because you can't drag the devil or those people to a psychologist, and the psychologists have the same problem themselves. They cannot help us. I am so sorry, because I'm going to have all sorts of people, another group of people that are not going to be very happy with me. But I didn't come into this incarnation to make people happy with me. I came into this incarnation to give information that other people don't have. Dr. Akhilesh Sharma gave me a prescription that would have reduced my fire, my rage, my hatred when I was in therapy, where I couldn't express my rage because therapists are all very elegant and understand. You never see a loud therapist or psychologist. They're very calm. What the heck is that? They take care of our emotions. Emotions means to move out. They don't move out their own. So he gave me a prescription that would have helped me. I didn't understand it. So I'm here with a military background, which doesn't correspond to my essence because I'm dolphin consciousness and I was born a Cancer, the mothers of the zodiac. So, me and military, not a good match. And yet, I chose that because you guys do listen to the military, don't you? You glamorize them in all those movies. In the 90s, when I was crying my eyes out with my memory work and remembering all the tortures and all the stuff, they were really glamorizing the intelligence community, the spies and everything. So sexy, the women and the men, and James Bond. And what the heck is that? Why are you glamorizing something that you should not be wanting for your children or your grandchildren or your neighbor? We have not been very thoughtful. We'll go into that another day. So let's go ahead and do a mantra. Please God help us with our intention. How do we word it, having to do with people understanding that the information is here, it's on the planet, it's part of the basic tools and knowledge of shamanism, Chinese medicine, and Ayurveda, but not in a modern language that we understand. So we have to update that and also expand it because Dr. Sharma did not tell me to find the frequencies in music that would reduce my rage so I wouldn't need that painting of a beach scene. It was outside perhaps his scope. He was not into music, and neither was I, so that would have never worked. But we can have it work. We can have this stuff available. We have it available. It is free in our YouTube channels. We have it. We have understood it. We're sharing it. Now we need to get it out to a bigger audience, and I'm talking to you, and I expect you to help out. How do you like that? So we're going to go ahead and do, please God help us with our intention to reduce the fire in the United States. And I'm going to put the music video that reduces fire. And I want you to visualize the entire country inside of an igloo or underneath a cascading water. I have a friend of mine who visualizes people inside igloos and screaming their heads off to also be letting off steam and helping their throat chakra and their frustration. Let's do that for a few minutes and perhaps we'll be back on this topic. And I'm not sure how much more simply I can explain this. We are doing the best that we can. What is it? I'm dancing as fast as I can. I'm going to review something now. 3 days ago, we sketched the United States. It had black magic in the heart. The center of the country ended up being Kansas. And Kansas ends up being the state. I think it's the second. I think it's the state with more prisons. It's the state with the prison that is the most severe. Leavenworth, it's called. And it has a closed heart chakra because this is the center of the United States. And this is black magic. So it would be black magic on the heart chakra of the United States. And they have more prisons and the most severe prison. And they have the Department of the Army that is called the intellectual part of the Army in a place that had a closed heart. That same Department of the Army was the one who ran or does run the mind control program that I was part of. And there was no heart centeredness there at all. So the stuff that's going on in the other dimensions, whether it's the elements or black magic, has everything to do with what results on the physical dimension. You wouldn't have all those prisons in Kansas if that heart chakra had not been closed. You wouldn't have the most severe prison there if the heart chakra wasn't closed. And you wouldn't have the Department of the Army that takes care of psychological warfare, which is the department that did or is in charge of the program that I'm still connected to, if the heart had not been closed. So all this other dimensional information is very important. So here we go. Let me stop talking and let's put up, and I'm going to do the one with the Medusas. And you repeat the mantra in silence. You expel through your mouth. I would like for you in particular to visualize Elon Musk, Trump, and anybody else that you think would be angry and upset legitimately, because it's legitimate anger, or politicians or policemen or people that could go ahead and do these acts of violence. Visualize them all swimming in these waters with these Medusas um, floating around them, and actually going inside their bodies and reducing the fire element. Do you feel more relaxed? Do you feel softer? I do. I think you can tell from my face. And I wasn't doing the mantra a lot, but I was looking intensely at the water. Jellyfish, medusas, jellyfish, that's what they're called. And when you feel bad and just visualize yourself swimming in that water or visualize yourself swimming in water. One of the things that the dolphins told me in 1999, actually, it was during the Christmas holidays. They gave me a whole long message with information. And they said that in the future, the country that would be the most broken would be the country with more devices, electronic devices. Not the poor countries, not the countries that we would think would be more violent, because we think that we're not violent in this country, and that is not the case any longer. They said that it would be the countries where there were more television sets and devices. And we are now known for being an incredibly violent country. And we don't like to look at that because we look at the other countries as if they were less than us because they have less in terms of materialism. But they don't have as much fire, most of them. But they also don't have as many radiating devices. So you like your little devices? You like the conveniences? I certainly do. Then you need to get educated on how to get those elements balanced in spite of your addiction to the conveniences. And we can do that. Okay? Thank you for joining me. And I will see you again when the holidays are over.